Alright, howdy folks, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to more Broken Arrow. Today we're looking at the latest devlog covering the Baltic Battalion Army Specialization, which was revealed recently and is quite detailed. This is going to be a DLC, but it'll be free, so it's kind of like a free DLC, and should release in the next 2 weeks or so, adding 21 new infantry units, 24 new vehicles, a new map, as well as a new scenario showcasing all of those units in action. It's even going to include a completely new type of unit, one that we haven't really seen in Broken Arrow before. Now you can cheat and skip ahead with the timestamps, but you'd be really hurting my feelings. Also, you probably don't want to miss out about what I'm going to say about the roadmap. They released this about a month ago, but I didn't think it warranted a completely separate video, but I want to mention it here very quickly. Follow the roadmap, we'll get 2 more of the spec DLCs, and I'm assuming those won't be free LCs, by the way, with a Russian and an American one, with early 2027 already mentioned, and they're saying another new spec, going to be a Russian allied spec. So think a couple of smaller nations, perhaps, that are allied to Russia, much like the 3 Baltic countries are maybe too small to include as a nation, but as a one-off spec, that's obviously a very interesting situation. Though the big one here is an entire new nation, including a new biome and war theater, so think maybe a desert or a jungle setting. Interesting note here, some of my autistic powers do come to mind. That vehicle in the background there, I'm pretty sure is a Chinese tank that they had on their Twitter years and years and years and years ago, so hopefully I can still find that. I don't look like an idiot if I can't find it, but that might be a little teaser to what that new nation may be. I should add that there's kind of been a lot of commotion on the community front for Broken Arrow. Well, it's taken them almost 10 months. The game released in June of 2025. It's now end of March of 2026. Are they going to be able to release 2 specs in the next 8 months, right, within 2026, when it took them 10 months to release 1 spec? The math might not be mathing there. I understand there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that you don't know about and I don't know about. I'm just hoping that they can fulfill their promise and release these, well, 3 specs and new nation in the next year or so. Now, the Baltic countries are all what's in this DLC. It's going to be Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. And the big thing here is they're all represented in every single area. So Moto and mech troops is sort of their main bread and butter. So every time there's going to be one of every nation's unit available. They do lack a lot of air power, so you probably want to mix this with a more air-heavy NATO spec. Beginning with Recon, the Scimitar and Spartan vehicles are both originally from the UK. They're equipped for some very light combat and basic recon. As with a lot of other vehicles in Broken Arrow, these units can be modified for different combat roles and given different various weapon systems or protection equipment, whether that's ERA slat armor or a little bit more sophisticated in an APS or active protection system, but it's always going to increase the cost, or usually increases the cost. It can slow them down, it can cause them not to be amphibious or airdropped anymore. There's a lot of decisions you have to make. Now, the Spartan here specifically can carry the top attack spike long-range AT missiles, which does allow you to obviously hit the weaker roofs of enemy armored vehicles. The TGB is either equipped with a 90mm recoilless rifle or a shorter ranged ATGM launcher, but much like the Spike, this also has top attack warheads. The Wolf WMIK, or Weapon Mounted Installation Kit, is just a standard transport, which can have a couple of different weapon systems, like a automatic grenade launcher or a medium or heavy machine gun. For infantry recon, each nation inside the Baltic triplets here puts forth a couple of options. Do please excuse my terrible pronunciation. If you're from Lithuania, Estonia, or Latvia, I apologize sincerely. The Jägeris from Lithuania come equipped for closer range direct contact behind enemy lines with 416s, Scar H marksman rifles, 7.62 mini-me machine guns, and a M4 Carl Gustav recoilless rifle. Then we have a sort of different setup from the Estonians with the ESD Scouts. They have some of Estonia's latest weaponry, including the R20 assault rifles, the R20L DMRs, as well as a Negev MG and Spike anti-tank launchers. This is a short-range Spike, unlike the one that we saw earlier, one of the Recon vehicles, which is a fire-and-forget missile, but it has more range than the sort of standard, say, Carl Gustav, but it's going to have less range than, well, you've guessed it, the longer-range Spike missiles. Then we have the SUV, which I love the name of this unit, or the Special Task Unit from Latvia, who come with suppressed G36s, multiple grenade launchers, shotguns, and flashbangs. Kind of obvious, they're going in hard, and they're going to clear out enemy units. They just have to get in close, and they'll do the rest. The Lithuanian KNT, or their Combat Diver Service, is a smaller unit that can swim across waterways, and their suppressed MP5s just really give me a Navy SEAL 90s movies vibe. The Sniperid from Estonia, they're a 2-man sniper team. They have a 50 caliber sniper rifle, and then the Latvians have their Sniperu Komanda, which is sort of a 3-man counter to that team. They include 338 Lapua, as well as a G36 with a grenade launcher for a little bit more of a personal protection protection element. For mechanized infantry, this is where the Baltics are really going to shine, they have, I'm going to mispronounce this, the Estonian 8-men Jalavi Jagu, which are equipped with the new R20 rifle, the trusty MG3, obviously it's been in service for a very long time, a couple of M203 grenade launchers, and a Galats DMR. They finally also get the short-range version of the Spike AT. The Lithuanian Gelezinis Vilkas, or I'm going to call them Iron Wolf Squad, because that's their name, is another 8-man squad. They are given G36s, some GLs, as well as a Swedish variant of the FN Mag, and they also have a Scar H. Then they have a M3 Gustav for close-range AT duties. Then the Mehanitsia Kainiak, I'm not even trying to pronounce that, from Latvia are similar to the Lithuanian Iron Wolves. They use Mini-Me LMGs, but they actually have AT4s instead. They are a unit that's a little bit more suited for closer engagements. Then the Estonian Katsalit, the Lithuanian CASP, and Latvian Zemesardve are reserve units equipped with older weapons such as Galil rifles, M72 Laws, and G3s, the classic G3, just to name a few. These are just smaller 5-man reserve units, and they're not directly meant for frontline engagements, but just to keep your supply routes safe or to deal with enemy intruders. The SOF, or 9-man Estonian Spec Ops, come with R20S carbines, MG4 machine guns, a few GLs, as well as the C90 CRBK rocket launchers, which can engage both infantry as well as armored units alike. And the Lithuanian Zaliukai Forest or Green Brothers are another 9-man team focused on more CQB operations, shotguns, flashbangs, suppressed weapons, and M72 A10 Laws, which are more HE focused launchers. These are your elite building clearing infantry. Now, the 3 Baltic countries also each have their own anti-tank teams as well, with Estonia getting the Milan ATGM. They actually do shoot 2 launchers simultaneously, with the idea that they hope to break through enemy armor more efficiently just by overwhelming the target's active protection system, or the APS. The Lithuanian Javelin team really does not need much said about it. Missile go up, missile hit weak enemy top, enemy go boom. And finally, the Latvian Spike LR, or the long-range version, is comparable to the Javelin in that they're both top-down. However, the Javelin has less range than the Latvian Spike. For AA, the Lithuanians use the Polish equivalent of the Russian Igla launcher named Grom, and they, much like the Estonians in their Milans, use 2 launchers at a time here to try to get some missiles to actually hit the target. Estonia gets an upgraded version of the Grom called the Pirun, with better range and a more damaging warhead. And finally, Latvia uses the RBS-70, which has more range than the other 2 launchers, but it does require the team to be stationary and set up while firing. The Baltic states can also use smaller 4-man teams equipped with either 2 50 cal heavy machine guns, 2 automatic grenade launchers, or a mix of one of each of these in dedicated teams, kind of just depending on what the situation calls for. Kind of like the one where you have one of each, you're kind of set up for any situation they may run into. The CV90 has a ton of different options, from adding long-range spike missiles, an Iron Fist APS, as well as an armor upgrade to actually help the CV90 sort of withstand Russian 30mm autocannon, at least from the front, for a while. The Vilkas, or Wolf IFV, is the Lithuanian name for the Boxer APC, which comes with a 30mm autocannon and spike long-range missiles. An APS can also be added for extra protection, especially of the crew and units inside its transporting as well. The M113 is still seeing use here, with seating for 10 units, as well as the options to change some of its weaponry and give it a little bit more armor protection. The Finnish XA180 is in use by the Estonians in Broken Arrow and will be an amphibious APC. The weapon systems can be swapped between, say, a heavy 50 caliber machine gun or an automatic grenade launcher, but if you don't like the amphibious capability but you want more protection, you can give it smoke launchers and armor, but assumedly due to the extra weight, it no longer then allows you to actually traverse waterways and it'll just sink. A few armored or unarmored combat vehicles such as the Leopard 2A8 make up the Baltic Triplets' vehicle tab. The Leo 2A8 can be upgraded with extra side armor to match its great frontal armor, as well as it can be given a trophy APS to aid in defeating incoming enemy warheads. Finally, for closer range anti-infantry support, you can give the 2A8 a remote controlled heavy machine gun on the turret. This next unit is what I was kind of teasing at the beginning, the Type X, which is an Estonian unmanned ground vehicle, or UGV. Well, not the first drone in Broken Arrow, I believe it's the first ground drone in Broken Arrow. This one comes equipped with weaponry. Now, due to the lack of a crew, Stress won't affect a unit, meaning it's always going to fight at full capacity and strength. It is lightweight enough to be airdropped and can be given a wide variety of different weapon systems, including javelins, larger or smaller caliber autocannons, spike ATGMs, and more. The big downside of the fact that the Type X is uncrewed is that the vehicle's weapon systems cannot be reloaded. Once you run through the capacity inside the weapon systems, you're going to have to pull it back to a supply point and get human armorers to actually resupply it so it can go out there again. The German G-Wagon, it's the complete polar opposite of the Type X. It's just a 4x4 without any tech or gadgets, I guess, besides the weapon systems obviously on board. Can be given a Milan, a Maypats, which is basically a tow, or a Spike long-range missile launcher. For supporting vehicles and weapons such as artillery or for AA duties, the Baltic countries have a couple of units lined up. The Latvians here use the M109A5 for artillery support. It's basically an equivalent to the American A6, which just carries a little bit less ammo. The Estonians have the K9 Cow or K9 Thunder, which can use guided as well as extended range ammunition besides its normal ammo types. The Lithuanians use the German PZH or Panzerhaubitze 2000, carries 60 rounds of ammo, which sounds like a lot of rounds, but due to the high fire rate, it does burn through the ammo rather quickly. We have another variant of the M113, this time as an artillery unit in the form of a self-propelled 120mm mortar. Nothing too fancy. You can kind of change some of the basic close-range weapon systems or give it some armor. I kind of find that a waste of points, but you do you. For anti-aircraft duties, we have a couple of very different units. We have this Iris TSLM, which is used by all three countries, carry either 4 or 8 medium-range vertically launched AA missiles. The Lithuanians then bought the Norwegian NASAM SAM system, which can either use 6 AIM-9 Sidewinders or 6 AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles for a more dedicated anti-helicopter or anti-jet role. And in a complete opposite of the fancy equipment here, we have the Unimog truck, which can either have a twin ZU 23mm cannon or a Mistral AA missile launcher. Of course, the ZU 23 is going to have the ability to at least target ground units. The Unimog is not just an anti-aircraft unit, it can also be used to transport up to 16 soldiers or kind of a low amount of 3 tons of supplies. Now the Sisu E13TP truck can only carry supplies, but it does carry 5 times more of that than the Unimog, while being better armored and also being able to include a self-defense machine gun, of course, at extra cost. Now, the aircraft and helicopter tabs are definitely, as I mentioned earlier, the weaker parts, and this is where you really will have to sort of strengthen it with, say, the American Spec Ops deck to get some helicopter representation, because the Baltics only come with 2, the UH-60M Blackhawk, as well as the AS-365 Dauphin. The Dauphin can actually be equipped with a couple of 20mm gun pods and 70mm rockets for some light and fast support. For aircraft, the L-39 Albatross is a smaller trainer jet, which can be given a couple of bomb variants, some 70mm rocket pods for saturation fire, and finally a few AIM-9 IR missiles for some very basic AA duties, but you really shouldn't have to rely on this to deal with enemy aircraft. And then finally, the C-27J Spartan, which can carry up to 10 tons of supplies or 46 paratroopers. It's a lighter version of the C-130 that it can carry less units total, but it is going to have an increased agility over the C-130. I do wonder if, and if so, how many of the Type X UGVs we can drop from one of the C-27J Spartans. With that said, I talked a lot. There's a lot to discover within the new DLC, so whenever it comes out, I'll definitely be covering it on the channel. Hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you think about the Baltic DLC. With the future of Broken Arrow, with 2 more specs in the next 8 months, a whole new nation. What nation is it going to be? I don't have a clue, but give me your ideas down in the comments, and I guess I'll catch you in the next one.